Hi, good morning, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure here to be with Melinda Goodwin. She has 26 years of experience across multiple specialties: women's health, mental health, emergency care, neonatal care, and she has been in insurance, and now she owns a cash-based practice. She's thriving, and today we're going to be covering the mindset shift that clinicians need before going cash-based. Why cash-based versus insurance, right? What to expect and how to transition. Understanding Medicare considerations, how to find reliable discount um, on labs, vendors, and then also how to market yourself, right? And then on top of that is how to use a community and events, right, to grow and trust patient volume. So, Melinda, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you so much, Oscar, for having me. I am so grateful for being here and helping other clinicians and people who are considering getting out of the grind and doing their own thing. I appreciate the opportunity.
No, it's great. Yeah, thank you for being here. One thing is that I've seen firsthand is that there's a lot of clinicians, wanting to escape, insurance or the matrix, whatever you want to call it, right? Into being an owner and operating your own practice, your own medical business. But, a lot of them, we understand that they don't, have, business, they're not business savvy or they don't understand it much, that's what, medical school or nurse practitioners, they don't, understand that, right? And that's okay. So having a mindset is very important, and you've done it firsthand. So I thought it would be a great idea for the audience to kind of hear it from someone that has gone through it all and is thriving and is doing amazing, right? So yeah, please walk us. How I think what would benefit the audience would understand, like, what's that mind shift, how to prepare, what are the first steps, right, for someone that's like, stuck at a hospital setting and they want it but they just don't know where to start. Like, what is the first thing they you recommend that they do?
Right. So I'm going to kind of give a little bit of history in some of the aspects of why I even did what I did. I was a nurse and loved it. And when you're in the medical field, when you are asked why did you do it, or the very first essay you ever do is, I just want to help people. That is your number one thing, right? I just want to help people. And as you get into the system, you realize that sometimes the things we are mandated to do or have to do, or the education we're doing, doesn't necessarily align with what our true heart wants. And so when we're evaluating where we're at in this world, do we start our own thing? Do we just leave the industry altogether? Or how does it function? Knowing that there's options out there is very important. When I started, I actually have an MBA in healthcare. So I'm a little odd when it comes to it. I know the business end, I know the provider side. And in this process, I learned about direct primary care. And how I learned is because I was working with an alternative system in health share, and that allowed me to view what the medical industry really is as a whole, with insurance, with patient care, what providers are reimbursed, and then how to educate and transition patients out of this mindset of, I need insurance, I'm going to hold on to this crappy job for the rest of my life just in case something else happens. So when I started my direct primary care, that was my main focus, was to provide affordable care, make money, because we need to make money. We have to have milk on the table, and it is okay to have a nice house. It's okay to have a good car to get you to work. It's okay to go on a vacation because you deserve it. So those are part of how cash pay actually assists in that. But the biggest thing is your mindset shift. And I just read somebody on LinkedIn today talked about that, right? We are so ingrained in, is it affordable? Can our patients afford it? Uh, they don't understand. The copays are too big. You really realize that when they're paying their insurance, some people are paying like $1,500 to $2,000 a month, $800 a paycheck just to buy their insurance, and then they have a copay. it's not that they can't afford your care, it's that they can't afford the insurance system that pays for your care, that reimburses you 10%, 20%, 5%, or zero because you put the wrong code in. So it's deeper than just a mindset shift on, okay, I deserve to have a vacation. I cannot tell you how many clinicians I've spoken to who have to see 25 patients a day or 60 patients in the urgent care. They're up till midnight. They never get a break. If they want to check, this is their contract. And then when they are on vacation, they can't relax to be on vacation because they always have either extra work that they didn't get done or they just don't have time. Because they're not making money either. You're not making enough money to even go on vacation. And so I think it's important as clinicians that we find the resources, we do the mental care of ourselves to change our mindset in saying, I'm okay to make money. I'm okay to charge my patient an decent amount of money so that I can make it work so that I can continue providing affordable care.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even with everything, right? Mindset is key. Mindset is everything. Positive mindset, you're gonna be a positive person. You're gonna have positive things are gonna happen to you, right? If you're a negative person, then negative things are gonna happen to you. So, what would you say for someone, let's say that's at a hospital setting, they don't know where to start, right? What do you recommend that they do, right? So let's say they're committed. They're like, okay, I am ready. I want to make money. I want to own my own practice. What is my next step?
If you're a nurse practitioner or a PA, your next step really is to view the laws in your state to make sure you can practice independently. And if you can't, what are those regulations? Do you need a medical director? Does your medical director need to be on site? And also, can you own your own clinic? Those are kind of interesting things when I first started researching because I wasn't a nurse practitioner when I opened my clinic. I was an RN and I hired staff, but there are certain states that you cannot own a clinic unless you're a licensed provider or unless you have a certain degree. So you need to really go to the state level first and find out what the regulations are. And then it's like a big mountain, right? There's this big mountain of what should I do? So you take one chunk at a time. Go to the state. Can I do it? Yes, I can. No, I can't. What are my barriers? And then you figure out what your barriers are. And then you go from that barrier to the next thing. The next thing would be, are you looking for a location? Do I do it out of my house? Many nurse practitioners practice out of their house. And it's interesting because there are people who will go to you because they love and trust you, and they want to be in an environment where they feel guided and loved and instructed, not told. I'm finding that a ton of times. So your space really isn't always that determining factor, right? You can rent a room from another clinic. A lot of clinics are renting out one or two rooms.
Yeah.
And so you can do that. And then you just, take a chunk. What's next? Liability insurance, maybe, but let's look at your liability or malpractice. Look at your whether you're going to take insurance or you're going to be cash pay. I highly recommend cash pay just because when you're credentialing, it can take up to 6 months to get credentialed with an insurance company. And you have to credential yourself and your business. And then once you do that, it can take up to 2 years to be reimbursed for any charges. So that really isn't the income friendly way to do it. So there's a we can make a checklist. If you want a checklist, I'd be happy to give you a checklist of things to do, but it really is just taking this big picture and just taking it one chunk at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, one step at a time. That way you don't get overwhelmed and just go crazy trying to do. But yeah, that's a good first step. And then, what I know you touched up on it a little bit, but why did you decide to go cash based? Like, what was your breaking point to where you're like, like I think, well, the good thing too is that you came from a business standpoint. You got your MBA first, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that was, you already had that mindset. But what was that breaking point to where you were a nurse practitioner and then you're like, I want to be on my own? Or did you just go straight directly to being on your own?
Right. I went straight directly to being on my own. Once I figured out, so when I started looking into the direct primary care, there were really only like 200 on the East Coast at the time. And so I watched them morph and mold into, tens of thousands now. Like the practitioners are coming out and doing their own thing and they're getting back to, we used to call it door to door, like going to your house calls, things like that. It's called mobile now because we're just so much more sophisticated than house
Yeah,
call. But
sounds better
so,
too.
yeah. So when I first started, I had come from an industry of insurance, right? I knew coding and things like that I did that when I very first started in nursing. That's what I did as a job, was code different aspects of medical care for billing. And there, if you don't put the right code in, you don't get reimbursed. And when you call the insurance company to say, I'm just wondering why I didn't get reimbursed, they tell you, well, you didn't put the right code in. And you say, well, what code do I need to put in? Like I need my $20. And they say, well, we can't tell you that. Right. So there's this bureaucracy of, my notes have to match what my code says. My code has to match what they're going to reimburse. There's different reimbursement rates for every single thing you do. So if I have a patient that's coming in for a joint injection, for instance, and they need a shoulder and a knee, I get paid more if I do a shoulder today and their knee on Friday. But what patient wants to come in today and Friday? None, because they're in pain from the first injection. They're not coming back for the second injection. I'm already there. Why not do both knees at the same time? Well, insurance won't pay the same price for, they'll pay higher for one, lower for two, but by the time you're 3 or 4, you don't get any more. So if you have fingers or elbows or anything else that you're doing multiple injections on, at some point you're just not getting paid. And they're not reimbursing. Like if I have a client come in for an injection of the shoulder, I charge $750. But if they're there and they need their knee or their elbow or their joint done, or their finger joint, I'll do them all at the same time for that $750. But insurance will be like, oh well, you did this joint, so we'll give you 200. And then this joint didn't really qualify because there's nothing saying there was really an injury. And then this joint is the third joint that you injected according to your notes. And so you're only getting $50. It's just, and you're having to spend so much time on that, or you're having to hire staff for that just to bring home a paycheck, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, so well, there's a lot there. So one thing that, it's kind of like obviously the insurance dictate what can or cannot be done, and then that doesn't really incentivize the physicians to really do, the best that's what's possible for the patient, right? In a way, right? Because now, for example, like you gave a perfect example. So like if you pay, you say you charge 750 for an injection, but then they want another area, let's say the knee or anything like that, then but they're only going to give you $50, but the kits cost you more than that, then you're going to be losing money on that, right? So
Yeah.
wow, that's sad. And then so that's on that, which I'm not very familiar with how insurance works because I've always been in the cash based business. So that's interesting. And then also you were talking about insurance for reimbursement and codes. And then from my understanding as well, because I'm actually working with a startup company that uses AI for billing and they use code. So essentially what they're doing is that so I heard that it takes about, depending on the company that you work with, 7 to 15 days to even get the codes back or sending to the billing department, and then the billing department has to submit it. So that whole, and then well, before even that, the doctor has to, after they're done with their day in practice, they go home and then they have to be charting and doing all that stuff. So imagine all that, the billing, it takes a lot of time, right? So you're already drained, stuck doing admin work when that can be automated. And so now, like I was telling you, we're working with an AI startup that actually is able to transcribe that, put it into PDF report, sending it to billing within 10, like 5 to 15 minutes. So
Yes.
that's huge. But do you see any insurance based insurance? Do you do any insurance? Do you take any insurance in your practice currently, or it's all cash based?
Yes, it's completely all cash based. Like you can get the receipts, I'll put the codes in there.
Yeah.
And as a patient, if you want to submit it to your insurance, you can for reimbursement or for that to go toward your copay. Because 9 times out of 10, you're still going to pay the full price anyway. You're just going to pay it to the insurance company. Um, so that way you can get reimbursement or at least get credit on your copay. Um, if I have a lab that I know the insurance will pay for, then I'll send them to like LabCorp or whatever instead of drawing my own labs and then have the insurance pay for it. But then here you go again. This is a prime example. I use LabCorp and I love, the labs, there's different ones, but I use LabCorp specifically because I got a discount rate. And we'll talk about how we get discount rates through different organizations, but I got a discount rate and so I use LabCorp. If I do a general overall health, I'm looking CBC, CMP, A1Cs, glucoses, sex hormones, like vitamin D, vitamin B12, which most insurances now won't even pay for a vitamin D. So my lab set, if I get it and put it in LabCorp system, it's $2,900
Wow.
for this lab set. If they pay insurance, depending on what insurance you have, it depends on what is covered or not covered, right? So let's say I had a patient who I said, I have a decent cash rate, but if you want to try going through insurance, you're welcome to, but I can't back it. I can't like reverse it. So you either pay my cash rate or you have your insurance pay for it because they pay for everything. Well, he got a bill for $2,200. And when he called me, he was very upset. I called the insurance company. I said, well, what would his or I called LabCorp and I said, what would his cash price be? They said, according to his insurance, his cash price would be $1,600. Now I had the same labs, different guy, different insurance. His cash price was $700 because they base it on according to their insurance. It's based on what the insurance rebates are, like the reimbursements are, not rebates, but reimbursements.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what my price is? And I make $60 off every lab draw. My price with my $60 is $280.
Wow.
Same lab, same labs, and I make $60 for drawing that lab.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's
Wow.
crazy how, and when I called LabCorp, they were like, well, you're leaving money on the table, which I absolutely am. I could literally have charged $600 for those labs and made more money. And that's kind of when we're talking about mindset. I do mine a little differently because I do a membership base and then I pass savings throughout the year to my clients. So I don't do cost per visit. If I did cost per visit, I probably would charge more money. I probably would charge $400 or $500 for that lab set because that's how you're going to keep the lights on. That's how you're going to pay your staff. That's how you're going to do all that stuff. But because I do a membership base, then I pass savings on to my clients with fees that they all know that when I draw their labs, I make $60. They all know it.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm transparent and I can be completely transparent with what they have.
Yeah. Well, that's huge because, being transparent and not only in the medical field, but in any business, right? Being transparent, being honest, and having trust, right? That's what gets everyone to like you, to work with you, to do business with you, to get injections from you, right? To get treated. It's trust, right? And that's
Yes.
amazing that you're doing that because they keep coming to you because they trust you.
Right.
Um, I wanted to touch base on one thing that you mentioned earlier, which was I asked you the question about where should someone that is in the hospital setting they want to get started, and you said that obviously understanding the laws in their state, what they cannot do, write that down and tackle that step by step, right? That was good. And then
Yes.
you mentioned something about doing something, treating patients in their home, right? I think that's actually I didn't know that. And I think that's actually really good because you can keep costs really low, right? And then is that based on like every state has their own laws? How does that work?
So mobile can be any state. Now it just depends on your insurance. Like my insurance, I chose not to have mobile patients come to me, but I do go, like today I'm out of town and I have a patient that lives in this town, so I will go and do something with her. Later I'm doing an IV for her. So that kind of happens in and out of it as just a general thing, but I don't have a mobile business. Does that make sense? But
Yeah.
sometimes you can set that up and that's all insurance. It's all how your insurance, your liability and your workers' comp is set up.
Okay.
There's no specific laws on it right now, state to state. I know that telemed is a huge thing, and the government is trying to figure out how that plays in, because we can do like this. We can have a video call across the nation and still treat people. But if I'm not licensed in that state, then I technically can't unless I have got care or established care in my state at my clinic with them, and then I can. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there's different nuances like that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks for explaining that. So, okay. So now you mentioned something understanding Medicare considerations as well. What are some things, to take into consideration when they're going into from making the switch, the change, the transition?
If you're doing cash based and you are taking Medicare patients, here is the key. Legally, you have to opt out of Medicare. There's papers that your patients can sign that say they understand that anything that they pay for in cash, they cannot charge Medicare for. And you, as a practitioner, cannot charge Medicare for anything that you do if you take cash. But if you're moving strictly cash based and you're having a lot of Medicare patients, then you need to opt out. And when you opt out of Medicare, it's not cut and dry. There's a form you fill out, you send it in, they opt you out. They don't tell you. You have to go on the website to see that you've been opted out, but it's for 2 years. You cannot opt back in for 2 years later. And then once you opt back in, then you can start, getting credentialed, charging Medicare again, but it renews automatically. So if you're in this and you're doing cash based and you opt out, and then a year and a half later, you decide, you know what, this isn't for me. I can't do this, which is totally okay. If you decide you can't do this too, then when you go to get another job, know that you have to opt back in, and there may be a time frame that you have to do some creative billing with your employer in order to get reimbursed for that. And they don't get reimbursed the same amount of money as if you were the provider who's opted in. So
Mm,
they make it very difficult to take care of patients that are 65 and older, who are the ones really that need a lot of the treatments that we're offering in a cash pay clinic.
interesting. Wow. Okay, so let's say we have a nurse practitioner provider that has the mindset, is ready. Let's say they went through all the hoops, they understand, they did their research. I can do this, and let's say I'll give you two scenarios, right? And
Okay.
one scenario will be, I have a space in my home, right? And I'm gonna, I have a 9 to 5 job, let's say, and but I want to take people after, and
Mm-hmm.
on the weekends, right? I mean,
Yep.
if you really want to do that, you can do it, right? And so that's one scenario, right? And then another one is that, or I found, let's say, a medical practice, nearby that's going to rent a room to me, okay?
Yes.
And so now I have that ready, right? I have all the paperwork, legal, everything, all that. Now I'm ready to, bring in patients, okay? Well, before we do that, I think, how do you find reliable discounts on vendors, products, so and find your niche, right? Like, so now that you have that and you're ready, what would you recommend? What are the next steps from there?
Right. So let's talk for vendors first. There are a couple companies that I know of specifically, but there are many that do a collaborative, and they do nationwide. So what they'll do is they'll go out as a company and they'll meet with like McKesson, Henry Schein, LabCorp, Quest, all of those that are at your fingertips, diagnostic places, and they barter price points. And when they barter price points, it's because they're bringing in a collective of patient care providers, and then passing those discounts. And so you buy into one of those, or you get to be a member of one of those, and then you get discounts that direction, which is the easiest way to do all of it, because they have access to, every vendor that you could possibly, I mean, Verizon, they have access to travel. They have like, they've went all out and found things that a provider would need a discount for. And because there's so many people in their group or in their customer base, then those discounts are very, very deep. Like with this one that I'm in right now, with LabCorp, my CBC is $3.50, right? Which is a lab that LabCorp charges almost, I want to say, like 50 or $60 for. So it's a deep, deep discount that you can either utilize that to pay extra money, because you're gonna, put a service fee or whatever on top of that when you have a lab, or to pass those savings on, however you choose to run your company. And if you want a list of those, we can do that in the comments. I have a list, but it's easy, instead of saying blah blah blah.com, it's
Yeah.
easier just to put it in the list. So you have a choice if you're doing your own research. So that's how you do the vendors. And then finding the EMRs has been probably the most difficult. Now, I had a company help me when I first started.
Yeah.
They helped me like get started, and they're called Freedom Works. So that's a great company too. If you have the money and you just are at your wits end and you're just like, I don't know how to do this. But it's easy to navigate once you have the steps and a list of steps to do. But there's always that choice of just paying somebody to do it for you. But when you're looking at your EMRs, know that there are so many options out there, and look at the different price points. A lot of them are per provider. So I have Elation right now, and I love it. It's got some very useful tools, but it's price per provider and per non-provider. So they charge me for anybody that's in that system, even if it's just a secretary or somebody that answers the phone for appointments. There's other ones that are free up to a certain point, and they'll help you with your billing. There's some that have the voice AI that records your appointment while you're in with your client and then puts it in the notes for you. So there are so many options out there, and the key is just to make sure that you do your due diligence in finding them, but also know that once you're in something, you can always change. It may just be a little bit more of a hassle at that moment, but you can always change if it doesn't function correctly for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people are afraid of change. I think, and I understand why, but if you really want to push, your boundaries, get out of the comfort zone, you have to, put yourself in situations where you're uncomfortable and really move forward, right?
Yeah.
So it all goes back to the mindset.
It all goes back to the mindset. Yes.
It all goes back to, because, I mean, not everyone that gets into business, succeeds the first attempt. It might take two, three, four more, but the thing is, just trying again, look at where you went wrong, make some changes and continue moving forward, right?
I
Um,
know this is a long game. This isn't a short game unless you're coming with clients already. If you're starting from scratch like I did, this is a long game. And I did, when I first did my math, I was like, okay, I got 2 years to make it to this point, and then I've got four, because you have to like have your goals or whatever. But it's really a 5 year. It's a 5 year before you finally get say, okay, right? You've got your staff, it's functioning good. You've done all the weird stuff, like, oh, okay, when a patient comes in the door, we're going to introduce ourselves, we're going to take their name and address, then they're going to go to the room. Like there's little things like that change and morph in those 5 years before you have a system down. And so if you're going into this thinking you've got this in 2 or 3 years, you might, but realistically you have to be in the game for 5.
well, I was actually going to ask you that. What is that time frame? But 5 years, I mean, Yeah, and a lot of people also are thinking that, like you said, it's 3 years and they're thinking short term.
Yeah.
And especially to live a good sustainable business, a good sustainable practice, building those fundamentals, a good foundation will set you up to success, right? I've made that mistake in my business to where like I tried to cut corners or because I want to get there fast, and it's kind of messed me up, right? Like because I'm like I kind of take one step forward and then two steps back because I cut corners, right? And
Yes.
so that's huge. Okay, so you you were
You
gonna
had asked me a question about a niche, right? How do
yes,
you find your niche?
yes,
Well, okay. So it's interesting because in the nursing world, uh, I tended to want to learn everything I knew, right? So I did ER, ICU, NICU, labor and delivery, OR. I did pharmacy for a while. Like I really wanted to learn the whole aspect of acute care. And in my 26 years, I accomplished that. Um, but coming out of it, it is interesting because I think that when you come out of acute care, and if you're in acute care, please know that you are one in 400,000. You're like taking care of the sickest of the sick people. This is the hardest thing. I think mindset wise for me, it was the hardest thing was I'm so used to acute care that they are so sick they can't even go to the bathroom on their own. They can't, you have to hold their cup so they can have a drink. You are doing, you're cleaning them up, you are ventilating them, you are all of that, right? These are the sick of the sickest people. And when you leave that industry, you are so burned out because it is so thankless and self sacrificing. It is absolutely incredible. Even as a physician, as a nurse, as a housekeeper, as a unit secretary, it is absolutely the most self sacrificing job you'll ever know. But when you come out of that, knowing that your patients there today may be in pain because they have a hurt shoulder, but they're going to be okay. You're going to be able to go, okay, well, we'll see you next month. And having that ability just to know they're not in critical, dire need absolutely this moment. Does that make sense? That was huge. That was huge for me. And if I lost a client, if somebody canceled their membership, knowing maybe it wasn't the right time, maybe there's other reasons. It's not necessarily because they don't like me. It's not necessarily because they can't afford me. It's not necessarily because they hated what I did. There's other aspects to it, and you have to know that it's okay. They'll come back when they need to come back. They're still your friends. You can still say hello to them when you're in town, and be it's not demoralizing. So it is an interesting shift. We could do a whole podcast on that alone.
yeah. So you mentioned the niche, right? So how does someone find their niche, right? From
I got all this sidetracked. The
yeah,
niche.
no, it's okay.
Okay. So a lot of people are coming out and doing aesthetics, which is absolutely great. We all need to look young. I want to be young forever, right? And I did aesthetics for about 6 years, so I totally get it. But when you're in it and you're in that niche, how you find it is you find what you truly are passionate about researching yourself because there's still learning you have to do outside of acute care. For instance, I had a patient who has some issues. We were just diagnosed with cancer, and she doesn't want to do, and this is another thing I love about cash base, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but she doesn't want to do the traditional chemo, everything else, right? So I had to have the energy and the curiosity to go and research different things to help her. And so that's where it adjusts from the insurance says you have to do this, 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 and this. And here you go. There's your prescription. Go out the door. Now I have to research and say, okay, my patient has chosen not to do the traditional insurance route. So what do I do? How can I help her? How can I sleep at night knowing I gave her everything that she needed? So when you're picking a niche, it is a niche that you definitely have interest in studying. So if you're going into women's hormones, I know that's big. That's considered going to be the biggest money maker in healthcare industry over the next 15 years. And so you're going to see a big leap into that. But there is so much to learn about women in general and about the craziness of what I call the shit zone, which is perimenopause,
Yeah.
and how to function when a woman comes in and just is like, I am going to just lose my crap 1 minute and then crying the next because their hormones are so out of whack, right? If you're not interested in learning how to manage that, then that's not your niche. So really pay attention to what you've interested in studying and then make a niche. Create your path through that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you'll find, I mean, you know, there's a saying, follow your heart, follow your passion. I kind of I agree with that, but at the same time, no, because there's a lot of things that we love doing, but doesn't make us money. And so we have to find the balance in that, right? Like, okay, what do I really like, or also what am I good at, right? Because
Right.
if you're good at something and you like it, I mean, I think if you're good at something and you like it, you have the passion for it. That's a good way to go. Um, but also going back to aesthetics, right? I know that med spas is there, it's very competitive as well, right? Because there's a lot of different med spas popping up in every corner, depending on where you live, but I mean they're in every corner. And so finding a niche, I do believe it'll come natural, right? Understanding what you're good at, and then also doing a little bit of research of what you said. So not only doing some research on okay, what can I what can or I cannot do, but also like, okay, where am if in this city how many med spas are in this city, right?
Right.
Which kind of goes into more of like the business side of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to do a little bit of research on like, okay, what med spas, if there's an ortho, you can also find strategic partners around there, right? Like, okay, there's a physical therapist here, there's a chiropractor here, let me go talk to him, let me see if he can send me some um
Yep.
joints, some patients that have any pain, right? So there's a lot that goes into it in finding your niche, and I think that finding it on your own and through that journey is key, but also doing some research and doing your due diligence, right?
Yes, you got to know who your competition is, and you got to know what their prices are. And I don't say competition in as I believe wholeheartedly in collaborative work, but you also need to know that when you're marketing for a hormone replacement therapy client, they're also marketing for a hormone replacement provider, and they're not just looking at you. They're looking at the other people around you. What are their prices? Do I like them? That's why I always do the initial visit for free, always, because I want my patients to love and like me, and I want to love and like them. If there's not a connection on my side or not a connection on their side, they should not be in my clinic, because I want to do them justice. I want to service them, and they deserve that, and that's what they want too, right? And so it's okay. It's okay to say, you know what, this personality doesn't quite fit me, and so I think you need to find a different provider. And so that allows me to do that on that initial visit that's free.
Wow, that's huge. I agree with you 100%. When you're starting off with anything, offering something for free, a lot of people don't see the value in it, right? Because no, like my time, but again, everything comes with balance, I think, right? But especially if you're starting for free, and if you're starting off offering that initial visit for free, because they have nothing to lose, right? Give
Right.
the patient a something that they cannot say no to, right? And then that once, and build trust, right? Because at the end of the day,
Right.
that's what it is in any business. Build trust. People do business with people they trust, people that they like, people that have the authority, the confident enough to do their job, right? And so I think that is huge. But because then now what you're worth, your value, how good you are. So when you arrive at their first visit, that they're gonna love you, right? And then
Right.
and now if you said that your energy, or they're not, patient for you, it's good for you because now you're going to be transparent with them and say, hey, I don't think I'm the right provider for you. by you saying no to that, the power of no, which I actually learned the hard way as well, will allow you to treat other patients in that next yes,
That you like, love, and trust.
and vice versa as well.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, and
And I'm
go,
sorry, in the medical field, it's, I mean, you know, for fun, I study marketing, right? I'm a little odd, but in the medical field, when you say I love and trust my provider, we are talking about intimate things. We are providers that see things that nobody should see. It is such an intimate relationship that is so professional that you have to know that the person that you're speaking to loves and trusts you. You love and trust them, because it's a I don't even want to, I don't even know how to say it, but we're talking about, I mean, we're talking about sex, we're talking about divorce, we're talking about kids, we're talking about dry vaginas, we're talking about erectile dysfunction, we're talking about just so many things in our 20 to 60 minutes that if that it's so vital. It's so much more important.
I agree. Yeah, because if they don't trust you or they don't feel comfortable telling you, their problems, right? Like, hey, my penis is not getting, when I'm trying to make love to my wife, right? That's very intimate. So if you're not a lot
Yes,
of people, if they don't feel comfortable, then how are you going to know what their issue is, and how are you not going to help them, right?
exactly.
Yeah, and I can understand why some certain people are not comfortable saying those type of things. So definitely it's also a psychology part, right? You have to also be a good psychologist and read people and able to trust them to open up to you, right? It's not just about, injecting or just treating people. It's about getting to the root cause. That's a good,
Yep.
yeah.
And it's about building that relationship, which insurance doesn't allow you to do, because you have 7 minutes in that room. And in that 7 minutes, there's no time for a relationship, where I can sit down with my patients for an hour and just hear them. And that's what they want. They want to be heard most of the time. And we know that psychosomatically,
Yeah.
we have, when you're looking at different studies, there's 25% cure rate just on psychosomatic alone. So if you could just give somebody 25% more time,
It's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And cash pay allows that. Cash pay also allows the fact that, like, for instance, I had a patient that just went on a ayahuasca journey,
Yeah,
right?
one of those.
So she said, I had to get off my meds. I went on an ayahuasca journey. I hope you're okay with that. And I'm like, I wish I would have known before so that we could have managed it, right? Because cash pay allows for us to know you're already doing red light, you're doing hyperbarics, you're doing massage, you're doing stem cells, you're doing all these non FDA approved things. You're doing peptides, you're doing all of these things, but you're doing it in the corner because you don't want your provider to know because of whatever reason, the insurance. And it's so messy where I can say, you know what, let's investigate that. Let's
Yeah.
see how that's going to work for you.
That's very interesting. So, not a lot of people know about ayahuasca. Okay. And that's a very interesting topic. And I'm kind of curious to kind of pick your brain on it. Not on what it, so ayahuasca, from my understanding, and I'll just kind of tell a little bit for the audience that don't know, but it's a native, tradition back in, the natives and people in Costa Rica do it, Peru, they do it. And then they get, it's a ceremony that they do, and they get the root of a tree, of a specific tree, something like that, and then also the leaf, and then they mix
Mhm.
it and they do it into like they boil it, they do something, and it's like a daily, a whole day thing, and it's like a little brew, right? Something like that. And then they call the person running it a shaman, I think, right? I think
Mhm.
a
Yeah,
shaman,
shaman. Hmm.
shaman, yep. And then they have the people there and they give it to them. And then apparently people go to these ceremonies for, um to find their true selves, and it's just to clean, and it's more of a
The
spirit.
purpose of life.
Yep.
Hmm.
And so you mentioned that you wish the patient that was going to do that told you about it. What if, for example, if she would have been open to or told you earlier, how was your approach change or her treatments, right? Like how would that affect, like what would have done if she would have told you earlier? Because that's interesting.
Well, there's a lot of medications that you shouldn't be on.
Yes.
And so if you're on certain meds like psych meds, things like that, then you have to taper them off. You can't just go off for the journey, that even the journey may be 2 or 3 days
Yeah.
and then get right back on, right? So, and maybe when you're done with the journey, you won't need them. So
Yeah. It's
really
true.
it's better to know, okay, you have this coming up. Let's strategically take you off what you need to be taken off of. And so that when you're doing it, you get the full benefit of the plant medicine. And then two, you're doing it in a safe manner because that plant medicine can be torture. There's a lot of vomiting and there's a lot of diarrhea with it, right? Because you are expressing a lot of internal things that come out. And so we want to make sure you're going to be as healthy as you can going into that journey so that when you come out, then we can adjust what you need to adjust. Because there are people that do it for mental health too. I mean, the same thing is why you're doing ketamine or you're doing psilocybin or you're doing MDMA, like all those other psychedelics. You have to just make sure that you are there to know how to do it in the proper manner. And I think that having that trust with your patient and knowing that, let's do it, but let's do it the right way. Let's do it the safest way because they're going to do it anyway.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's be safe about it.
Be safe, and why not give them the best experience that they can possibly get, right? If they're going to go in that journey, right?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't think we were going to talk about ayahuasca today, but that's there you go. That's awesome. Okay. Okay, good. So now, the provider has, let's get into like how to market themselves, right?
Yes.
I think it's very important. So now they got a location, they have, all legal, everything ready, and they got their vendor list, they got all their products, they know their niche. Okay, like now how do I market myself? Like what do I do, right? Well, it might be a little bit easier for those that rent a room in a specific practice because they already have that influx, and then they might be able to negotiate some type of referral fee, whatever internally they can do. So that might be easier for that type of that scenario. But what about
Mm-hmm.
someone that is on their own? What are some tips? Like what would you recommend, right, for marketing?
And this is the whole thing, right? If you build it, they will come is not true. I call BS on all of that.
What do you mean if they
just just because you're there, it's a movie. I don't know, it's a baseball movie,
okay.
but just because you have a clinic and now you have a sign and you post your sign on the door doesn't mean people are coming knocking down your door for your care. They don't even know about you. It's crazy when you said not very many people know about ayahuasca. I was like, wait, everybody knows about ayahuasca. That's not really true, right? It's they don't know about you either until you're in their face. And part of being in their face is being on media, social media, doing videos, because people like and love. If you ever watch, like my mother-in-law, for instance, this is going to be a little intimate TMI probably, but she has, when she first started in dementia, she changed her insurance. And I was like, why did you change your insurance? And she said, because the dead guy on TV told me to. And I'm like, what do you mean? There was an actor that she knew from when she was younger that she absolutely loved. She felt like she knew him personally because she watched him on TV. Like we have that innate ability to feel like we know somebody when we physically see them and hear them speak. That he had passed away, but he had a commercial still running that was about insurance. And so she changed because he had told her to from TV and she trusted him.
Wow.
So when you're marketing, it's so, so important. Video is huge. Um, Getting your face out there, getting people to know and love you because this is what you look like. And if you have a hard time being on video, then you just need to realize the person you're like I'm seeing on my video with you is what other people see. And that's how they like you, is how you look, how you act, how you talk, your mannerisms, everything else. That's what they love about you. So be that person on video. Another thing is collaborate. Like we're doing this because I wanted to we have this monthly, it's called healing collaboration, and it's alternative and Western medicine physicians and practitioners that come once a month, and we just chat and we learn about other people's businesses. It's a networking thing, but a lot of them struggle with getting clients. A lot of them have the same issues that you have as a practitioner. So I came up with this. It's called Embrace Womanhood. It's 2026, the year of the woman. And each month we have a presenter. We have 4 presenters at one event. And those presenters are other practitioners in town that will present to their patients, right? So if I bring 30 of my patients, they bring 30 of their patients, and there's 4 of them. We're looking at what's 3 times 4, 120 people in a room that could be your client in that room, because now I'm talking about hormones, but they're talking about financial security for women, or they're talking about mindset and teaching a meditation class, and they're talking about nutrition because I have a nutritionist there. So we're collaborating in this event, and each month has different presenters. But because I'm the one presenting it, will have a topic every month. So every month I'm going to be in front of 120, hopefully, people from different providers. So we start with this 120 from these 4, but the next 3, because I'm one of them, presenters are 30, 60, 90 different people. So some of those from the first won't come, but the others, some will, and then you'll provide, right? So by the end of the year, you should have been in front of easily 1,200 people. And you don't have to pay for anything because they help you. You pay, like, my event space $50. I have to pay for maybe supplies, but what supplies? If we're doing a dream board, so I'll pay for extra dream boards, things like that for the people that are there. But what's $30, $100 for that? You
What's a
know,
dream board?
you don't know what a dream board is. You know what
Is it like a
ayahuasca is?
is it like a vision board? Is a dream
Yes.
board like a vision board?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm
So
like,
you
wait,
oh,
you
you
know
get
what ayahuasca is, but you don't know what a dream board is?
yeah, no, okay, yeah, the vision board. I thought okay, just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I have a couple of things. So collaboration, I have this saying that you want to go fast, go alone, right? You want to go far, go together, right?
Yes.
And I agree with that saying 100% because when you work and you collaborate with like-minded individuals, you guys will be able to go further, go far, right?
Yep.
Now, I personally think that all of you guys have to be in sync, have the same mindset because, some people may just be laggers or take advantage and, you got to boot those people out, right?
Yeah. Well, you're always going to have those people,
Yeah,
but you know
always.
what?
Yeah. In every industry. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think, collaboration. So I wanted to touch base before I go a little bit more on use because you said using community events. I want to touch more on that later, but you mentioned video, right? And I want to add more to that because video, and you are absolutely right, video is huge. Okay. Um, it goes back to building trust. Okay. Because you can post online, you can take pictures of yourself, and it's great, right? You're posting, you're being top of mind, people get to know you. However, through video, they can see our facial expression, how we laugh. It's like going back to the story that you shared with your with your in-law, I believe,
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
in-law, right? She, because she was able to build that trust when she was young, watching his videos or his movies, whatever it was, she felt like she knew him, right? And
Yep.
so imagine that influence that he had based on and he didn't even know about her, right? And imagine the influence. So going back to video is huge. There was actually, obviously, I have a marketing background as well, and so one thing that we so I study a lot of marketing, right? And one thing that I really that I realized is that not I wouldn't call influencers, right? Because I don't consider myself an influencer, or I personally don't like the word influencer because you're influencing people to buy a specific product. I the I like better influential, right? You want to be an influential person. There's a difference between influencer and an influential person
An educator.
and an educator, correct? You because
Mhm.
you exactly. And so by doing video, you are able to connect with patients, with a business partner, with clients, with future clients, because they can understand like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about, or I trust him, or I like how he talks, or your charisma, whatever that is, right? So with video is huge. I'm actually getting ready to record to do a course on how to help doctors. So this is going to come up amazing on how to help doctors be comfortable in video and why video is important. So going back, I'm going all over the place, but I did some research, and the influencers now, the people that they are doing video. So they did a study, and what they realize is that people that, let's say YouTubers that do that post you have short form content, which are like 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 second 5 minute videos. That's short form content. Then you have long form content. Long form content is what we are doing right now. We're having an hour conversation, 30-minute conversation where we get deep into a specific topic, right? That is good, right? However, what is even better based on this, and I can share with you this video, people that go live, okay, versus people that do short term, they have an exponential growth because it takes a lot of
Courage.
skills and courage to go live, right? And so, like being live, because we can mess up, we can say something, but knowing that it's a lot because now we can go back and edit it, right? So, something to think about live. That's why I've been focusing, my marketing on just going live, and because it takes a lot of courage, right? So that is huge. But video is amazing. Yes, I agree with you 100%. Um,
I
but
used to do a 5 minute live on my way to work every Monday morning. And
interesting.
yeah, I had a little thing on my car, so I'd push live and I would drive to work and talk. And yeah, and there's some things you're like, oh, holy shit, I can't believe I just said that because that was an error or I talked backwards but people want to know that you're a human being.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we make mistakes, right? We
Yeah.
we and it's like going back to trust, going back to like they were welcome. It's like they're in the conversation with us. That's why Joe Rogan is huge.
Yes.
And if and you see his videos, they're kind of boring sometimes, right? Like it's just like, all right, all
Some
right,
of them.
yeah, some of it's kind of like, would they have some parts, right? But still, like it's like you're in the room with them, right? And it's going back to building trust.
Yes.
But so let's say going back to the video part and marketing yourself. So let's say they're shy, they're still, that's probably the second, third step that they'll get into, right? What is something that they can get into immediately, right? And to market themselves, right? They
Right.
don't have any marketing background. Maybe they don't have $3,000, 5,000, to spend for a marketing agency to do their work. Like what can they do, right? Start something small. Step number one.
And that's kind of the key, right? You can spend $6,000 easy a month with a marketing agency, and there are some out there that are amazing. I have worked with some very, very talented marketing people if you can afford it. But when you're first starting out, sometimes you can't afford it. And so,
And then
good.
sorry to cut you off, and I do want to add something to. And then not only that, but it takes usually, unless you're running ads, takes 3 months, 6 months for you to get those results. So imagine you're spending X amount of money to wait 3, 6 months to
Yeah.
start getting results. Not a lot of people have that. So yeah. So what would be, how would you fix that? What is your solution based on your experience?
So if you have time, right? I take Mondays and Wednesdays are my networking and marketing days. So I work Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at the clinic, and then Mondays and Wednesdays are networking and marketing. So if you have time, then what I do is I get on groups. So I pay like $125 to belong to this yard sale group that's local, and I can post ads. And I post ads. I also have my RN who is amazing at TikTok and Instagram. So I pay her $20 an hour to do TikTok and Instagram to promote the company, and she puts out our whole month full of Instagram stuff. Also, you can collaborate with other people in town. Hey, if you mention me, then you get a discount on my monthly fee, or I'll give you a lab for free. And then they go on to all those sites and mention you. You can also belong to groups. There's like different groups. There's like in our town, there's one that's for business owners. So you get to ask a lot of business questions, but then you can start a group. I have one called Embrace Menopause. And it's a group that right now I think we're at 700 or 800 people
Wow.
that I think I only have
Where
50
are you
of them
hosting
as
these
clients
groups? Where are you hosting these groups? Facebook?
on Facebook.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, LinkedIn is really good for business to business, I believe, but not patient to
Oh no,
clinician, right?
that's what that's a good point as well. From a marketing standpoint, it's B2B. That's where other professionals, that's where you show off your authority. That's where you show off your expertise if you're a provider, right? Your patients are not hanging out there.
No.
They're not. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, right? They're on groups. And that's one thing that I see. I see so many providers, talk about patients, like marketing to patients on LinkedIn. I'm like, that you're not really doing anything. Whoever your marketing company is, I think you're going to have to talk to another marketing company, or you're going to
Right.
have to reevaluate your marketing strategy, because that's not the proper way to do it. So that's
Right.
a good point. Yeah.
If I put something marketing on LinkedIn, it's because I want other people that are in my industry to know what I'm doing,
Correct.
right? And I may have a business person that's only on LinkedIn that I want to connect with to know that I'm professional in doing what I'm doing or what kind of things I'm doing. But usually, when I'm marketing on LinkedIn, it's my videos or it's something to show that I have authority, that I have knowledge in the industry. But like there is a group in our Facebook, it's called Women of Southern Utah, right? And it's just women and they ask questions about, hey, who do you know? Hey, who do you know? Right? So every Thursday, and you have to keep a log, but every Thursday you can promote your business.
Yeah.
So every Thursday I'll do a video and promote my video. Like, hey you guys, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. Come check it out. This is the special we're doing or whatever. And it can be something so simple,
Yeah.
but it is finding where your clients are and then being in front of them. That's really the key, and you can do it for free. It just makes you get out and go from doctor's office to doctor's office. If I'm doing hormone replacement therapy, then I'm going to go to women's clinics. But what I found out is if they take insurance and you don't, and they refer or tell their patient about you and you don't take insurance, they can get in trouble referring outside of the network. So there's so many nuances.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's especially if it's Medicare. But there are so many nuances that there are rules and regulations out there that a lot of people are sticklers on and they won't do it, right? So just like my women's event for the year, I will give those providers the flyer. Happy if any of them want to participate, right? So because you have to build those relationships too. Because if they have a patient they can't help, they're going to secretly tell them about you. So you have to go out and build those relationships too.
Yeah. That's also part of, you have to market yourself, right? If you don't, if they don't know you exist, then how are they going to find you? Right. I
It's
agree.
like being in the store and somebody's standing in front of you. You can stand there all day long, or you can say, "Excuse me."
Yeah. Yeah.
If you say, "Excuse me," they're going to move,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yep. 100%. One thing I do want to add, you said video, community events, joining other groups. That's a great way as well. What I found is that I host a biweekly, sometime monthly, webinar on where I help providers attract more patients, right? And when when providers sign up, it's a small group, right? And what I like to do is I do an audit, right? So they obviously I do a form, they show their website, and I do a little bit of research on my own, right? I'm like, all right, let me see their website, let me look at the Google Business Profile. And one thing that I've realized, and I consult them for free, like I'm like, hey, listen, do you mind, like during the call, I'm like, do you mind if I go over your Google business profile on your website and just kind of give you some suggestions on how you can optimize. Of course, like who doesn't want that, right? I usually get like 2, 3 people in the webinar, right? Not a lot because I don't promote it or run any ads on it. And then I go there, and what I've found is that people do not even know about Google business profile. Okay. And Google business profile is huge.
Hmm.
It is very important, especially for a brick and mortar practice. If you have a practice, if you have a location, right? I like to give this analogy in the webinar, and I think would be very helpful for the audience, for people that are listening. And it's like, let's say you're out of town, right? You're out of town, and you and your husband, let's say you guys are in the mood for Italian food, right? But you guys don't know anything. What is the first thing we do? We grab our phones, right? We grab our phones and we put Italian food near me. What's going to happen? Based on our location, there's going to, Italian restaurants are going to pop up, right? Based on where we're at. What are we going to do? Next thing we do is like, all right, there's going to be 10 of them, let's say. Um, oop, what should I do?
Sorry, I had a phone call.
Oh, no problem.
Did it start over?
No, it's no, that's fine. Yeah,
Oh,
it
okay.
did. What should I do?
Shoot.
Recording has stopped due to incoming call. What should I do? Make sure recording is device. I think we're recording still. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. Okay, so Italian food. So let's say we're in the mood for Italian food, and we are we put Italian food near me. It's gonna come out, all the restaurants nearby. This is how I shop, and I can guarantee almost everyone shops the same way. We look at the reviews, we look at the pictures, we look at the menu, we look at the pricing, we look at the pictures of the food if they look good, right? Based on the, let's say, 5 restaurants that we kind of, looked over, we're going to select one, and that's where we're going to go, right? So the same way we shop for restaurants when we are looking to get, food, that's how patients are looking for providers in a way,
Hmm.
right? They're like, okay, stem cells near me, or, PRP near me, sexual rejuvenation near me. And how do we pop up on that? By being optimized on Google, by adding those specific keywords locally, right? So when patients look for specific therapies, certain treatments that they're interested in, you will pop up there, right? That's how you pop up. Now, do you have do you have pictures of your practice? Does it look clean? Do you have pictures of, going back to you, Build Authority? Do you look clean? Do you have a nice headshot? Does it look welcoming? Do you guys have good reviews, right? And that is, Melinda, you have no idea, that is so overlooked.
It is. It is.
Just I think by starting there too, by optimizing their Google business profile, is huge, because you start from there. Imagine, especially if you live in a high traffic city, imagine all the free search results, or the traffic that you can possibly get just from being on Google, right?
Right.
So I wanted to add that a little bit, because that's huge, and I see it, I would say 9 out of 10 times.
It is huge. And we do that. We find the biggest holes in the ground with the best food that way. And people do it all the time. Absolutely.
That's how we find the best hole in the wall, right? They might not
Yep.
have the best, but if their food looks good and they have 4.9, 4.9 rating and
Yep.
2,000 reviews, let's go there. Like, it doesn't look like a fancy restaurant, but that food is going to be good.
Yep. 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 Every time we travel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is the same way. Matter of fact, I just had a client say that they looked on TikTok for stem cells near me, and we came up, right? So it's huge.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is huge. And so that's something, yeah. So building the community, was there anything else that you're missing? Anything else that you would like to add on the community part, like building communities to get patients and grow?
No, I think that they're just out of the box ways, right?
Yeah.
It's not just traditional marketing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the beauty about being in business, right? Being a business owner. There's really no playbook. There's no book that says you have to do this. Out of the box, you have to come up, you have to be creative, right? That's what owning your own practice, being an entrepreneur is, right? Finding ways to succeed. And you'll do it's your baby at this point. So you're gonna do anything and everything you possibly can to succeed, right?
Right. Right.
It goes back to mindset.
Yes.
It
Yes.
goes back to mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. is there, anything else you would like to add? I think we covered pretty much every topic that we wanted to talk about. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
There's so much, and I'm going to create a course and have you help me with that. But on this top and talk about it in more depth and give more tools to the people who are in that course. But yeah, there. I mean, we could do this again 3 or 4 times and still talk about different topics.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. And for those that are listening, because I'm going to upload this on YouTube as well, we are going to build a course where we're going to pretty much take, someone that what we discussed earlier today, right? Someone that is taking insurance, they want to lead, they want to have their own practice, where to start, right? Like, because not only are providers, based from me, and you can agree with me on this, not only that our providers want more autonomy, they want to improve their patient and their patient doctor relationship, more time for themselves, right? That we understand that from the provider's perspective, right? Obviously, but also from the patient's perspective, regenerative medicine is blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
Patients are tired of traditional medicine, right? I would say the younger generation as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they are looking for longevity, aesthetics. They want to look better. They want to feel better, right? And so by by making sure that demand, you were able to supply that demand, that's huge, right? So making that shift, I think, is very important now. You don't want to be left behind, and especially now with the stem cells, and it's in a gray area, but obviously we're advancing the field the right way. And so in 5 years, hopefully, when things get approved and all that stuff, we're in the forefront, and you've already established that relationship in fielding patients, that relationship with other providers and things like that. So definitely, we will be building a course. I'm excited to do it, and more of a community to help people answer those questions, specifically in regenerative medicine. But then under that regenerative medicine, there's so much things, under the specialties, right? Because regenerative medicine, I think, touches in a lot of different specialties in medicine,
Yes.
that is,
It does. It does.
in
And I
every,
want to,
yeah.
yeah, and I want to add too that you're correct. And I want to give COVID credit because we were opened, the general public and the consumer was open eyed to a lot of things that happened in COVID, and they were able to take back their own power. And it's interesting when you talk about, the liabilities of being a provider, and we're always on that verge of how to protect ourselves. And I think we follow under that line of insurance says this, insurance says that. I got to do this, I got to do that, to follow the checks and the checks and balances of protecting myself from liability. But the reality is, and I truly believe that COVID allowed the patient to take back their autonomy, to provide an opportunity for them to make decisions on their own and to be responsible for their decisions. And so when you're in a situation where a patient like mine that didn't want to do traditional med say, this is what I have to tell you, this is what I should tell you, but you are in control. It's your decision of how you're going to treat your body. I will help you as best I can in the most safest way. And I think that's the key to all of it, right? And I don't know where that came from, but it was just something you had just said. I really think that's a very important end to this conversation is patients having the autonomy to take care of their bodies the way they should and want to. And I think our younger generation see it. Our younger generation say, I don't want to be old. I don't want to have diabetes. I don't want to be obese. I want to be able to live when I'm 50 years old and do fun things. And that's huge.
COVID definitely was a wake up call personally to me as well, and I agree with what you said. It was kind of bad what happened and all that, but it did wake a lot of people up. And to kind of add some points there, the younger generation is waking up. They're looking for longevity, right? They're looking for other alternatives, and I don't know if you know about this, but that's why if you look at like the clubs, like, the partying clubs, they're down. They're not consuming alcohol anymore.
Right.
Alcohol consumption is down. You know, I mean, I think that obviously has to play a bigger role, but now who has money to go spend, $10 for a beer now, or
I know, or
20,
$16 for a mixed drink. Yeah, I know. I
so
know.
everything is coming back to that. But yeah, I mean, I can talk for days and about especially this, but yeah. Um, Anything else you would like to, leave away, some takeaways that you want to leave the audience with?
No, I think we provided everything. I think that if you're really truly going to do this, it's mindset. It's knowing that you deserve to make money. It's okay.
I agree. Yeah, well, we'll be on the lookout for the course that we'll be building, the community as well. I'm more than happy to have you guys joined and help you guys because this is a long journey, like we were discussing earlier. It's like a 5-year journey, and so having, a community, having providers like Melinda that has been there, has gone through it, and understands it from a provider standpoint, from a business standpoint, and now practicing now to where she can travel and treat patients. Like that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yes, it is
So
amazing. It's a
it
great
is.
time to be in
And I'm
medicine.
sure you feel fulfilled, like you're happy. You're actually, happy to wake up and go help patients, which is
Yes,
huge.
it's huge.
Yeah.
Yep.
All
Yeah.
righty. Well, you guys have a beautiful day, and I hope I see you guys in the next video.
Okay. Thank you.